You know, I can't even believe this is a debate, but it has made the rounds. There has been online discussion over this. Metallica versus Taylor Swift. All because there were some reports during their tours that, oh, in LA, Metallica had more people at their shows than Taylor Swift did. Back in August 2023, SoFi Stadium even reported on their Twitter feed that Metallica held the highest single show attendance record at the time. Metal Injection reported they had about 78,000 attendees at each of their shows, beating out Taylor Swift's record of 70,000. And since then, stuff always pops up on YouTube feeds about how Metallica will get more of this and that than Taylor Swift. Hell, there was even a segment on Survivor where two of the contestants challenge each other to a song title battle. Again, two artists that really shouldn't be in the same sentence. Yeah, man, at least Metallica doesn't have a bunch of co-writers and producers helping make her songs. Okay, lots of pop artists do that. And why shouldn't they? It's a business, and their shit sells tickets. Well, at least Metallica's private lives aren't center stage like Taylor Swift's. All right, sure, we can joke about Taylor Swift's relationship history, but last I checked, when James Hetfield entered rehab again and divorced his longtime wife, that stuff made the news. Yeah, well, unlike Metallica, Taylor Swift has never performed in front of 1 million people. Sure, she hasn't done so yet. Who's to say that's never going to happen? I'm sorry. There is no way Metallica drew more people or more money overall in their latest tour than Taylor Swift's Eras tour, which was only the highest grossing tour of all time, literally drawing 10 million people globally and grossing over $2 billion. That's B as in boy. Metallica can have that single show attendance achievement at SoFi, which was since broken by Ed Sheeran. That's great for Metallica and heavy metal, but it's a complete waste of time for any Metallica fan to try and look deep for ways to one-up Taylor Swift in terms of accomplishments and cultural impact. Come on, you're comparing the biggest heavy metal band ever versus the most influential and most popular pop icon of the 2020s. Metal in general will never appeal to a wider audience than pop music. I will even go as far as saying that some of the greatest heavy metal songs ever released are just simple, catchy pop anthems with a heavy guitar and drums. Again, two different styles of music, two different sounds, two different kinds of stage productions. At the end of the day, they are two completely different products that happen to have had a massive success. It's chocolate versus vanilla, tea versus coffee, apples versus oranges. Why is this even a debate?
So fucking what?
Both of them have very loyal, intense fan bases. Some can say too protective and too aggressive at times when they hear criticisms of either artist, which can be overwhelming and off-putting to people that are not part of the fandom. Now, I'm actually not going to do much bashing nor criticism of either artist or their fans in this rant. And if you're listening to me and if I get something wrong, please tell me. Yes, obviously, those who have followed me know I'm a huge Metallica fan. I've seen them 8 times in concert as of this recording. I've said plenty of things about them in videos on my channel. So of course I'm going to say that Metallica is better in quotation marks because that's the music I like. And that's the music that made me a metalhead who listens to lots of other bands within the subgenres, ranging from traditional to thrash, metalcore, melodic death metal, symphonic metal. And progressive metal. I don't really need to listen to what's on the pop radio. I have enough artists on my phone to do just that. With Taylor Swift, I really don't have an opinion on. Sure, I've heard some of her songs. I mean, how can I not? Her songs popped up quite often back when I was reviewing Kids Bop albums and paying attention to the pop hits of the time. Nowadays, I'm more, all right, this is not my flavor of ice cream. You know what, Swifties, you can have your chocolate ice cream as long as I can have my vanilla topped with salted caramel. And if you listen to me and you comment saying that either one sucks or profess how much of a Swiftie you are, then awesome, you are allowed to do that. But if I must do some comparisons, remember, Metallica and Taylor Swift are both products. They are brands that sell, and their paths to get to where they are couldn't be any more different. Metallica fans will say that their rise to fame in the 80s was organic and relied on word of mouth. They started out in 1981 as a Diamond Head cover band when they were fresh out of high school with no rich parents to help fund their early careers. According to Lars Ulrich, by 1985, they were no longer below the poverty line, 4 years after they officially started and 2 years after releasing their first record. And it's safe to say that the mainstream machine in the entertainment industry did not choose Metallica. Playing music at the time considered too intense for a lot of listeners, it was the fan base Metallica organically gained in the 1980s into the 90s through word of mouth and notoriety that helped propel them from the top of the heavy metal scene into the world of pop culture. And they did this in an age before the internet and social media, during a time when mainstream radio stations and MTV wouldn't touch them until they got too big to ignore. Taylor Swift's rise to fame was different. She was never poor. Her parents were financially comfortable, wealthy enough to fund her early start and remove many of the roadblocks while getting her foot in the door. And with the rocket to stardom basically strapped to her back, she would not have gotten off the ground if it wasn't for her parents' money and guidance. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Already performing from a young age, by age 14, she was the youngest artist signed by Sony ATV Music Tree Publishing. And before she could legally drink alcohol, she was already a rising star in the world of country, had chart-topping singles, was acting in movies and TV shows, hosting Saturday Night Live, and was already headlining her first world tour. Literally, she was already embedded into pop culture within a few years of her debut in the mid-2000s. So because of how quickly she was pushed to stardom from a very young age, one can say that the mainstream machine chose her and chose to heavily promote and market the shit out of her to younger audiences and listeners of country and pop. Anyone that wants to say that her entire career, including her music and persona, was manufactured and polished can say that, especially because it is hard to escape hearing a song from her. And her face is plastered everywhere no matter where you go, it seems. I mean, if you think Metallica's Enter Sandman is overplayed, Taylor Swift's Shake It Off has that beat tenfold. I literally cannot get that damn song stuck out of my head as I'm writing this rant, and it's not one of my favorite songs. And when it comes to controversies, yeah, Metallica had their moments where they pissed off a lot of their fans, whether it be via change in musical direction, image changes over the years, the constant accusations of selling out, their feuds with other artists or even former band members, or when they led the lawsuit against Napster. Those who heavily dislike Metallica nowadays are usually former fans who felt betrayed over the issues I just mentioned. Swift, on the other hand, I mean, if you want to bring up Snakegate to me, honestly, from the outside looking in, looked to me like it was nothing more than a pissing match between Swifties and Kanye West and Kim Kardashian fans. With that aside, yeah, you have the revolving door of jokes about all of her breakup songs about her exes, which are just as well known as her music career. A lot of people who dislike Swift are not necessarily haters of her music. Instead, it's mainly those who are sick and tired of hearing her songs and seeing her face everywhere. It's also those who really don't care for her political activism, beliefs, or endorsements. Because it feels like she's overexposed to death right now, tons of people are just turned off. And there goes the saying, how can we miss you if you won't go away? So a lot of people like to bring this debate up because of their current tours they've been doing this decade. You have Metallica's M72 World Tour, which began in 2023 in promotion of their latest album, 72 Seasons, which came out in April of 2023. And this tour will end in late 25. While Taylor Swift, of course, did her Eras Tour from 23 to 24, which started out as a retrospective themed concert, kind of like a greatest hits tour, but then also promoted her latest album, Tortured Poets Department, which came out in May 24. For the Eras Tour, again, you had Swift doing 149 shows in 51 cities across the globe, while Metallica is scheduled to do 80 shows, oftentimes promoting a no-repeat weekend where they would do 2 shows in the same venue with completely different set lists, meaning if you saw both shows, you would not hear the same song twice. Hey, Tool, take notes. And as of this recording, Metallica has completed 54 out of the 80 shows scheduled for the tour. A Swift concert in the Eras Tour would last over 3 hours, where she'd play over 40 songs, 37 of them being staples at every show, with a few rarities switched out each one. Meaning if you saw one show on the tour, you pretty much saw them all. With Metallica, one of their shows is usually 15 to 16 songs in sets that last just under 2 hours. But again, with the no repeat weekends, that meant over the span of 2 shows, you'd hear anywhere between 30 to 32 songs, which would give fans an incentive to buy tickets to see both. Also, Taylor Swift's songs are shorter. Most of them average 3 to 5 minutes, whereas Metallica has epic anthems and setlist staples that can go on to 7 to 8 minutes easily. And you may be asking, well, why are Metallica's sets shorter now? It's very simple. They're old. Each one of them is in their late 50s, early 60s, and the kind of music that they play is intense and physically demanding. Plus, their bodies can only handle so much as they get up there in years. But at the same time, many people have said their M72 World Tour is the tightest they've sounded in decades. And back during their Relentless Black album days, those shows went on for 3 hours easily. And even when I was seeing them in 2008 for the World Magnetic Tour, they were still doing 2.5-hour sets, but they were much younger then. You have to remember, it's more than just playing shows. It's the travel between cities. It's the setup, the warm-up time. Plus, there's all the public appearances away from the shows one makes to promote their tours. It's not an easy life to do, and it does take a toll on the mind and the body. I mean, to Taylor Swift's credit, she literally flew from performing a show in Tokyo halfway across the globe to watch her boyfriend play the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. I challenge anyone to do the same if you have the resources at your disposal. So is it really fair to compare Taylor Swift's Eras Tour to Metallica's M72 World Tour? No. The Eras Tour is her biggest tour to date, with 149 shows within the span of 21 months. And yes, this is at a time when her popularity and influence just seemed to explode much more than it already was before. Metallica doing 80 shows over the span of 2 to 3 years is a big reduction in how many they used to do. The last major tour prior, the Worldwide Tour, did 159 shows over the span of 43 months from 2016 to 2019. And that tour at one point was the 8th highest grossing tour of all time. The tour that you really should compare Taylor Swift's Eras tour for Metallica was their Black Album tour. More specifically, the Wherever We May Roam tour. So if you want to just count that specific tour, that was still 174 shows within a span of 15 months. And it also overlapped with a stadium tour they did with Guns N' Roses and the Nowhere Else to Roam tour, which extended the Black Album tour into the summer of 1993. Thus, in a span of 21 months, starting in October 1991, they did 277 shows. Oh, and if you want to count the Shit Hits the Sheds tour they did in the summer of 94, that was an additional 51 concerts. So that makes it 327 shows from late October 91 into August of 94. That's a lot of concerts. It is hard for me to find the statistics on how much they got from that legendary Black Album tour altogether. But the point that I'm trying to make is that when Metallica was at their peak, they did a much more relentless touring schedule than Taylor Swift ever dreamed of doing. That shared tour with Guns N' Roses was also famous for the Montreal incident, where James Hetfield nearly incinerated himself on stage from a pyro accident. This was an event that was life and career threatening to him, and he was back on stage 17 days later and fully recovered after 4 weeks. And prior to that, this was also the tour that included the famous Monsters of Rock Festival show at Moscow, where they played in front of an unofficially estimated 1.6 million people. I mean, look at this. This crowd is insane. But in all fairness, that was for the first free outdoor Western rock concert in the Soviet Union. And they shared the bill with AC/DC, Pantera, the Black Crowes, and Queensryche. I mean, I'm pretty sure if Taylor Swift decided to put on an advertised free show, you're probably going to get thousands of people instantly that'll show up. It was reported during her Eras tour that tens of thousands would still show up to the stadiums, even if they didn't have tickets, and they would simply tailgate in the parking lot where they could still listen to the show. I mean, imagine how many would have showed up if Taylor was promised to appear at one of Kamala Harris' rallies, mainly just to see Taylor and less so Kamala. And if you don't believe me, look what happened in 2024 when thousands flocked to one of Harris' rallies in Houston, thinking they were going to see a free Beyonce performance, only for them to get pissed off she only spoke for a few minutes and then left the venue when Kamala began her speech. Yeah, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala, but she has 281 million Instagram followers globally. That's nearly twice the number of people who voted in the 2020 and 2024 elections. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there were some Swifties who voted for the burnt Cheeto in chief instead of the laughing hyena. And now, as artists that both sell a lot of tickets and fill out arenas and stadiums wherever they go, as it is right now, Metallica is still ranked number 7 in the highest grossing live musical acts of all time, according to Pollstar. According to Billboard, they're number 12. And for a heavy metal band that, again, plays music that most people find too intense for their ears, that's amazing. But of course, as it is right now, Taylor is number 1 according to those same polls. And if there was a question on who still has the biggest cultural impact, well, come on. Metallica didn't cause a surge in NFL ratings from their fans checking out Kansas City Chiefs games in hopes they'll show James Hetfield on camera watching his boyfriend. Nope, that's Taylor Swift. Kansas City hasn't gone nuts for Lars Ulrich dating one of their top stars on the team. Nope, that's Taylor Swift. Metallica's presence surrounding the Kansas City Chiefs hasn't led to conspiracies where many fans felt the games were rigged so the Chiefs would win back-to-back Super Bowls. It wasn't Metallica that fans in attendance at the most recent Super Bowl were booing when featured on camera during the game. Plus, there weren't any polls showing that 18% of voters would vote for whoever Metallica endorsed, and 17% of voters saying they'd vote against whoever they'd endorsed. Nope, That was all Taylor Swift. That's what happens when an artist or band achieves the success that Swift has. That's what happens when your face gets plastered everywhere and you're the artist that has the most streamed songs on Spotify. Fuck, she even holds the honor for most songs covered by Kids Bop of all things. And the next artist down isn't even close. Yes, I'm a fan of Metallica, but if there are any Metallica fans that want to keep comparing Metallica to Taylor Swift, there just isn't a comparison. It's two different products. They appeal to two different kinds of fan bases. And yes, Swift has them beat in popularity. The statistics and money figures do not lie. Even at Metallica's peak in their early 90s during their Black Album days, you still had acts like the Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, U2, Elton John, the Grateful Dead, Michael Jackson, and Madonna outdrawing them. Will this peak of popularity wane down for Taylor Swift? Probably. Eventually, there will be someone else who sells more tickets and grosses more money than she does, but they have a long way to go, and she is not leaving the spotlight anytime soon. She's only 35 years old as of this recording. She has plenty of years left. Metallica, they're already aging, and they will eventually get to the point where they simply cannot tour anymore. Look at their peers in the rock and metal world. Many of them have longtime members that are dead or they've retired in the last 10 years. Nico McBrain, the longtime drummer for Iron Maiden, retired due to health reasons. Slayer and Kiss said they're done from full-time touring and they'll only do a few special gigs here and there. AC/DC was on a long hiatus due to band members either dying or retiring due to health reasons, but they recently came back after that hiatus. Aerosmith is done. Van Halen is disbanded. Rest in peace, Eddie. Black Sabbath is done. And you know Ozzy is on his last legs. Twisted Sister, done. Rush, done. The list goes on and on. So at the end of the day, comparing a pop icon at the peak of her career to a legendary band in the twilight of their career is not a fair comparison. And quite frankly, it's a stupid debate. Yeah, I'm a metalhead, and yes, I would not get caught dead at a Taylor Swift concert, as it's not the kind of music I enjoy, but to deny her popularity and culture influence she has on people is stupid. We don't need any Metallica hardos that want them to be number one above everything and just shit on everything that isn't metal or the music they like. Yes, I used to be like that, and I went through that phase when I was younger, but I grew out of it a long time ago. 10 years ago, these hardos were trying to compare jockstrap sizes to Justin Bieber's fan base. 20 years ago, it was Britney Spears. Hell, they still do it to Megadeth's fan base, and it's totally meaningless to do this shit now. You don't have to like the certain artist. You don't have to go out of your way to listen to Taylor Swift songs. You can change the channel if you see her face on TV at NFL games, and you can ignore whatever political activist belief she has you don't agree with. And the same applies to Metallica. I get that you can't escape them if you go to a sports game, but for the most part, you don't have to listen to them if you don't want to. And that is all I have to say about this asinine topic that shouldn't be up for debate. If you liked this video and heard me for the first time, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. There's links to the Discord server where you can talk to me directly. I am Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for listening.